All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. We're going to discuss something here. Somebody asked, whatever, yesterday or last night. Last night for me, yesterday day for most people. And that's, actually, I should have done this before. One second. And basically there's a question like this, that there's a question that person says, they're in a bit of a bind, right? What's the bind, right? What's the problem? Problem is they'd love to convert, right? I've heard that a lot. People interested, let's say, in conversion, right? We'll make it easy over here. And what's the bind? What's the problem? I mean, there could be a lot of problems here, but what's the problem? They believe in JC. They believe in JC as the Messiah. So what's the obvious question? It says, I heard you have to deny him during the conversion process. So it's not a question of, so question is, person heard, well, there's a problem. You got to deny him. So it's not a question of denying per se, you can't believe in him, period. Right? Not a question of, not a question of denial. Right? You cannot believe in him any way, shape, or form. Right? That is the first thing. So he says, person says, gave me a heart for Torah, wanted to join Judaism, I can never deny it. Well, that's a problem. Right? Obviously, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but bottom line is, problematic. I don't believe he is God. I only believe he's Mashiach ben Yosef. Now, Mashiach ben Yosef dies, or potentially dies. Difference of opinion, the Gemara says. Right? So it's kind of like going to the mikveh with the dead rats in your hand. Right? Doesn't work, doesn't go. Right? That's pretty obvious. That was when I was interviewed on Tanakh Talk, that was one of the questions. He said, can you, believe in JC and convert or be an Ohai? And the answer is no. Right? The answer is, first of all, he can't be the Messiah. Right? The Rambam and others say the Messiah can't die. That's the first thing. Right? I'm not here to prove why JC is not the Messiah and go through all that. That's not the point. Right? Anyone who's going to listen already knows. That's why they're here. Right? They want to know what Judaism says. So person says, I don't believe he's God. Okay. That's a start. It's a good start. Right? He believes he's Mashiach ben Yosef. Cannot. Now, even if Mashiach ben Yosef dies, the difference of opinion, not clear he dies. Difference of opinion. Right? Okay. But he ain't coming to die for your sins. And there's no such thing. That's idolatry. Right? We understand, human sacrifice. We understand there was an idol called Molech that one opinion is they threw a child through a fire, in the fire, to this god. It's called the abomination. We don't believe in human sacrifice. But then they threw out another thing. There's no connection to anything. And that is what I came to learn. Many Jews believe that the Blavitcher Rebbe was Mashiach also. So it might be a strong minority, might be a lot of them that do, all right? And many rabbinic authorities hold that's idolatry, right? So they say, well, it's good enough for what's the argument? What's this crazy argument? The crazy argument is, well, it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. If they can believe he's the Messiah, why can't I believe JC is the Messiah? What's the connection? What's the connection? There's no connection. Right? Many hold People believe that it's idolatry. Some hold they're just crazy, just a crazy philosophical thing. Well, not really idolatry, but that's hard to say. That I think is hard to say. Right? Regardless, there's an issue. There's an issue over here. And we'll see how far this goes, because I want to point out a number of things. Right? You can't have it both ways. We don't believe he's a prophet. We believe the religion's a bunch of bunk. We don't hold by it. That's it. And we hold to idolatry. Even if you hold, there's an idea of shituf, right? Meaning the Trinity. So the question, if that's obligated for a non-Jew to believe or not, that they're not allowed to believe in it. Some say yes, some say no, right? Vast majority of rabbinic authorities, nothing to talk about, hold Christianity is idolatry. That's it. That's what we hold. So how can you believe in someone who's a false prophet? We believe it's a false prophet now. Now, the fact that there are Jews that believe the Lubavitcher Rebbe, a blessed memory was the Messiah, that's a problem. That's a big problem. But that doesn't matter. That's also forbidden. It's also idolatry. Right? So who cares? You want to tell me I can believe in JC and still be a Jew? Well, look at them. Aren't they Jews if they believe the Rebbe's Messiah? No. Let's make it clear. They're not Jews. Unless they repent. Unless they repent. That's a problem. Right? Total problem. Over here. So, that's one thing. So then it goes further. He says, there's a stigma against Christians, because of what he did in the horrible past, and he's going to apologize for the bad behavior spoken in his name. Yeah, tens of thousands of Jews burnt, killed, massacred in his name. You're going to come and apologize. Okay. But how can you believe in him? Even if you would say you could believe him as the Messiah, I feel bad. Look how many Jews have been killed in his name. Do me a favor. Don't give me apologetics. Very good. You have a heart. Okay. Now, how can you believe in someone, even if it wasn't him and his disciples made up the whole thing and he didn't do anything or whatever it was? Tens of thousands of people massacred, killed in his name. You want him to be the Messiah? Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Now, so he says, they're to proselytize, whatever. Is it all possible? So I said, nope. They're not possible. Now, he wants to know how is it idolatry. So I sent him an article, right? Obviously not my area of expertise, but you believe in, the Ramchal says and others say, you believe in someone else that has power outside of God. Problem. So he says, okay, I don't believe he's God. Is he a prophet? No. He's a false prophet. Total false prophet. Right? So I sent him to different things. And then I say, okay, he's not believing in the Trinity. Doesn't believe he's God. He's not fulfilled the prophecies of the Messiah ben David, but for Messiah ben Yosef. Yeah, I don't see how that's worked. Right? But okay. So he says he's a monotheist. That's better. That's better, but we don't believe in him. Period. We don't believe in him. That's it. Bottom line. So there are a number of issues here. Number of issues. How can it be Messiah ben Yosef? Messiah ben Yosef is going to help the Messiah ben David. He's going to be a leader. Right? Certain things he's going to do. He didn't do that. He didn't fulfill anything. He didn't fulfill anything. But even if you don't believe he's God, that's a good start. Even if you don't believe he's God, guess what? He's a false prophet. No matter. The book of Deuteronomy, it says, if a prophet comes, he does miracles and this and that. You haven't killed. It's danger. Tremendous danger. So the answer was, that's by false prophets. False prophets. Bottom line is he didn't do what he's supposed to do. Right? But he wanted to claim. I want to do one other thing here before I get to that. He mentions, no offense to Rabbi Singer, and I'm bringing this up because I want to make a serious point here. And that is, he says he counts on Christians not reading the Talmud. So I've only read every man's Talmud. So based on the little that he's read, he wants to say from what he read, it seems that there's credibility for him being the Messiah in certain passages. So my answer was, show me where it says. There is a passage at the end of Tractate Sanhedrin that says that maybe the Messiah come from someone who's dead, or have the character traits of someone who's dead. Doesn't mean he's coming back from the dead. It's going to be someone alive. How some Chabad people misinterpret that. Okay. But simple explanation of what it says is he's not coming from the dead. Maybe he'll have characteristics of someone who's dead, like the prophet Daniel or others. He ain't coming from the dead. That's the first thing. Second thing, and I'll show you the passage he brought me, which is also a problem, right? But the person admitted they've only read the Everyman's Talmud. Well, that doesn't mean you read the entire Talmud. You went through a few passages, okay? Right? And this is the problem. This is a problem. Someone looks it up on their own without any references, without anybody to take them through it. This is why non-Jews, unless they convert, should learn it. You need a proper teacher to learn it, period. You need a proper teacher. Very easy. I see what the Messianics do. I see what the Christians do. They take all kinds of things out of the Talmud. I did a number of videos on controversial issues on Tanakh Talk showing how they took it totally out of context. So I'm going to take this guy seriously. I read a few passages and it would seem that would prove it. Did you ever learn a tractate from beginning to end? No. Did you ever have somebody teach it to you? No. Right? Doesn't seem like you did. Right? There's claiming no disrespect to Rabbi Singer, but, he's saying Christians don't read the Talmud. Very good. They shouldn't. It's not for them. They shouldn't. But I've read a little bit. So what does that mean? You know what they say? You learn a little bit about a lot of things. That means you know everything about nothing. But you need someone to teach you. So I'm going to say, learning Kabbalah, same thing. You need someone proper to teach you. You can't run before you crawl. Can't crawl. You can't walk before you crawl. Can't study higher mathematics unless you study algebra or trigonometry, right? Can't study calculus, with that. So you've read a few passages. Maybe he's read a lot. You found a few passages, say what he said. Right? So I called him on it. Right? We'll see what the answer is. I said, show me a source. Show me a source where it says that he could be the Messiah. Right? So what does it say? It says in Micah 28a, the red heifer is able to atone for sins. So to a righteous man. Yeah. And there's a passage, obviously he doesn't remember the reference, but there's a passage, Moses having a conversation with Hashem, where Moses says, the righteous person can atone after he dies. Oh, very good. Very good, after he dies. That has to be understood. Doesn't mean he's born to die for that. He's born to suffer. No such thing. That's called pass the buck. That's called not taking responsibility. But let's understand. Let's make clear. He quoted something. Okay, let's see. Since the red heifer is able to atone, what does the red heifer atone for? A person becomes impure. So the Kohen who takes the ashes of this cow, that's totally red, never worked, never had a load on it, all this. You burn the cow, you take the ashes. What do? You put it on the person's impure. He becomes pure, and the Kohen becomes impure. Okay, makes no sense, right? But that's the way it works. Now, so too, the red heifer atones. Yeah, so to a righteous man. Okay. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? In other words, if someone's very righteous, God could bring, God forbid, could take 100,000 Jews, kill them, right? Destroy them, whatever the case is. God decides maybe he's going to take one righteous Jew and he's going to atone for that. Does that mean that righteous Jew is born for the sake of atonement? No, doesn't mean that. It means because of his high level of spirituality, he's got the ability to take the whole world on his shoulders. And sometimes God's going to take that person away because it could have been a lot worse. God could have made a decree a heck of a lot worse. So God plucks roses, takes great people to atone. That doesn't mean they're born for that, right? Don't misinterpret. That does not mean that at all. It means because a person on a high level, right? And different things going on that the person does, okay, he takes greater responsibility. But when somebody like that dies, that could wipe out tons of sins. Okay. That doesn't mean he's born for that, and then wipes out everything for everybody. It doesn't mean that. Right? That, so a person who looks at it and says, see, that can atone for sins of a righteous man. Very good. First of all, JC wasn't righteous. We certainly don't hold he was righteous. Even the few things that the Talmud says about him are not flattery. Not at all. But let's say he wants to claim he's righteous. Okay. When a righteous person dies, can that atone for a lot of sins of the generation? Yes. Is the person born for that? No. Not born for that. Right? Someone ever mentions, it doesn't say slaughter a righteous man and take the ashes to atone, right? So I would say this person obviously does not know how to learn, does not know how to look at a passage in Talmud and understand what it means. There's not a simple thing to understand either, by the way. Like taking the easiest thing and say, oh, that's so easy, even I got it. No. This is why sources like this need to be taught, need to be explained by someone who knows how to explain it. You cannot learn it on your own. You can't learn it on your own. And that's it. And that's it. So I pointed that out. No one is born to suffer for others. It's called collective punishment. I mean, not collective punishment. You have to take responsibility for yourself. That's your obligation. Right? The bottom line is any of these different things. I sent him different things. He's like, oh, okay, I'm wasting your time. I see, you're getting angry. No, I showed him information. Doesn't want to look at the information. Okay. But don't say, well, I read a little bit and I studied a few passages and that makes me an expert. And that makes me see, I know certain things. I saw certain things in this every man's Talmud. Very good. A handful of passages without any explanation, without anyone telling you what it means. Does it mean a person's stupid? Doesn't mean they're stupid. It means you have to learn with somebody. Even if it's in the language you understand, there are a lot of layers, a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts, right? But what do the Christians do? What do the Messianics do? They'll take the hardest verses, and try and explain what it means. They'll take passages in Talmud and turn it into a present. They say, look what they do over here. Look what they do over here. Now, they might not like the explanations, that the Talmud gives, and it's not the only explanation, right? The rabbis didn't reveal everything. They revealed, certain things, but it doesn't mean they gave every explanation for everything. But a lot of things obviously have to be looked at context, right? I'll give one example, and you can watch my videos over there in Tanakh Talk. when we did, they did a number of videos, right? One example, non-Jews come out and say, hey, the Talmud says if a non-Jew is drowning on Shabbos, you don't save him. That's terrible against non-Jews. Yeah, okay. Looks pretty bad. What's the context? Kaufman's Law, look at the context. There's a whole page of going back and forth. If a Jew's drowning on Shabbos, how do you save him? How are you allowed to desecrate Shabbos and save him? You're only allowed to save him what? You're only allowed to save him if you know he's going to keep Shabbos. If he's a religious Jew, if he's not a religious Jew, technically you should let him drown. He's not going to keep Shabbos. The whole point of saving him or her is because they're going to keep future Sabbath. Is a non-Jew in that category? No. Do they keep the Sabbath like a Jew? No. So the whole question does not revolve around why you're not allowed to save a non-Jew on Shabbos. The whole purpose of what's going on over there is, how am I allowed to save the Jew? And then comes out at the end, okay, now you have this whole question about saving a Jew. Am I allowed to save a non-Jew? It's not like the whole passage is talking about, not saving non-Jews because we hate non-Jews. We should let all non-Jews die on Shabbos if they're drowning. Today's the whole moot point. If you saw someone drowning and you could save them, you save them even on Shabbos, Jew or non-Jew, doesn't matter. That's what the halacha is. But the point is, that whole passage, 99% of that passage is not talking about a non-Jew. Period. It's not talking about a non-Jew. It's talking about a Jew. How am I allowed to save a Jew on Shabbos? So I take that totally out of context. Yeah, that's my answer to that. Someone asks, was the concept of resurrection invented by Christianity? No, they just demolished it. It's the Jewish concept, one of the 13 principles of faith, that every Jew has to believe there's going to be a resurrection of the dead. Right? It's not a Christian thing. They may also believe in resurrection, not like we do, but it didn't come from them. Right? You have to remember. Right? You have to remember. Christianity came later. Right? Came later. So whatever they're going to say, the precedent. Where's the precedent? Precedent is by us. Right? Now, Moses goes out to Mount Sinai. He gets 2 law books. He gets the written law and he gets the oral law. Oral law is supposed to be passed down orally, just like it sounds. So even if it wasn't written down, it's still way back. Still goes much further back to Mount Sinai. Why do you need oral law? What's the purpose of oral law? To explain what the Torah says. The Torah is very vague, extremely vague. Right? Extremely vague. So therefore, needs explanation. Torah says don't kill. Torah says don't kill, right? What about euthanasia? No, that's not murder, that's mercy. Or what about someone's chasing you, no other choice, you end up killing them, are you liable? Torah doesn't tell me. Torah's a law book. Torah just gives me the general rules. Sometimes tell me the punishment as well, but does not tell me details. A lot of details missing. Right? Someone here mentioned, I'll hit this now. Someone here mentions, can a single female JIT put up a sukkah and sit in it? Yes. A woman can sit in the sukkah. Does she have an obligation to? No. But certainly the first 2 nights of sukkah, she should. Right? Jewish woman should sit in the sukkah. If not enough room, okay, but she still should sit in the sukkah. She would still have an obligation. Right? The question is, does she make a blessing on it? That's a different issue. Right? That's a different issue. Sephardic women would not make a blessing on it because they don't make a blessing on things that are based that are confined by time. Right? We call it mitzvah zaseh shezman grama, something determined by time. Ashkenazi tradition is we make a blessing based on that. So if a woman wanted to sit in a sukkah, she could. Right? If she's Ashkenazi, she makes a blessing. If she's Sephardic, she doesn't make a blessing. So, should someone in the process of conversion sit in a sukkah? Why not? What's the problem? Can they make their own sukkah? Shouldn't be an issue. Right? Shouldn't be an issue. Should she sit in the sukkah the whole time? If she can. The only obligation really to sit in the sukkah is when you eat. That's what we hold. But, many people have the custom, as long as it's not too cold or the weather's good, you do everything in your sukkah. right? You learn the sukkah, you read the sukkah, you're on the telephone, the sukkah, different things, right? But we hold that if it's too hard to be out there, okay, when's the only time I have to be in the sukkah? Is when I eat and when I sleep, right? And even when I sleep, you don't make a blessing on it, right? You don't make a blessing on it. So I answered that. Talmud says that a man named Yeshu was executed and had 5 disciples. Yes, no question. Some people say it wasn't really him. Some people say it came later. Yeah, that's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that says he was hung because he blasphemed. Blasphemed against God. There are a lot of other things cause people to go astray after idolatry. A lot of things, right? A lot of things. Okay. Yeah, so it's a whole discussion, but yeah, Talmud brings that out 100%. 100% says that. It used to be censored. Now we have these uncensored Gemaras. It's 100%, right? The question, it's the whole question. Some say that he was a student of Rabbi Shua ben Prachi. Some say he couldn't have been. It was too far. He was much later. Well, it's a whole discussion. There's a whole discussion. But yeah, that Gemara says that's who it was. Some people say it wasn't him. Some people say it was someone else. So the question is, what is that him or not? So that's the whole discussion, right? That's in Sanhedrin. Actually, the other day, I was looking for the source. I'll find it. It's definitely in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, but because it says we killed him. There's no question. So if the Romans said they crucified him, what happened? So that's a good question. Maybe they crucified him afterwards, right? But it says we killed him, right? It says the Jews killed him, so they do have a good claim. They say, hey, you killed our Savior, okay, but it's liable for death penalty, right? Which asks the question: if no one really got killed, why did he get killed? So okay, we're not going to go there, but whatever. The whole discussion, right? The whole discussion. Yeah. Someone asked Deuteronomy 24:16. No man can die for another man's sin. Let's see if that's the source. Whoops. 1 second. Deuteronomy 24:6, right? 24:16. Let's see over here. 1 second. What does it say? Fathers not be put to death because the son shall not be put to death because the father mentioned will be put to death for his own sin. Yep. It means, what does that mean? There's no question what it means. The father sins for the kids and all that, right? That we've spoken about before. But it says over there, right? It says you got to own up. Anyone's going to be put to death if God forbid they're liable for death penalty for what? For their own sin. Christians got a problem with that. How are they going to define that? They're going to misinterpret it, or they're going to mistranslate it. Well, that's what it says. That's what it says. In other words, it's your own sin. You're going to pay the price for what you do. Not necessarily what anyone else does. Again, it's a whole discussion I don't necessarily want to get into now. But that's a whole discussion. Right? Simple explanation is you're responsible. There's no pass the buck over here. That'd be great. I'd love to pass the buck. I'd love to give someone else, all my sins. Doesn't work that way. Right? Totally doesn't work that way. Right? But at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for what we do. Right? So so here the Torah says, no one's coming to atone for anybody's sin. Right? In general. Oh, what about a righteous person? Okay, that's a different issue. That's a different issue. But the point is, he's not born for that. Right? No one is saying he's born to die for other people's sins. It happens because a person's very righteous. Right? That can wipe out sins, many sins of the generation. That could happen. He's not born for that. That's not his purpose. Right? Totally not his purpose. So a number of years ago, someone came out with a small booklet of all the censored Gemaras. And now most Gemaras that are printed have the uncensored, uncensored Gemara, and that was one of them. About what do you call it? That a man named Yeshu was executed, 5 of his students. Yeah, it doesn't, in the older standards of or versions of the Talmud, it wasn't there. It wasn't there because obviously it made us look bad, so they censored it. Right? But yeah, most Gemaras today are uncensored. They're uncensored, so that'll appear in other passages also because it makes them look bad. They'll also appear, 100%. 100%. Someone asks, okay, why is it getting a because the Muslim a wicked person is mentioned? This is a portion of a wicked man from God. Yeah. Let me see the text 1 second. Let's see. Let's say, Flair, 1 second. What's the quote here? Let me just get it right. This is a portion of a wicked man from God. Okay, let's see. One second. All right, you have to show me the exact quote. I don't see it here. 1 second. Unless it's 1 second. Yeah, give me the exact quote because I don't see it here. Yeah, Al Davram Avinu correspond to Pesach. Okay, I don't want to go into that. Can a woman say Psuke to Zimmer? Yes. She can definitely say songs of ascent when it comes to prayer. Listen, if she doesn't have much time, she can skip, but can she say it? Yeah, that's not a problem. That is definitely not a problem. She'd be allowed to definitely be allowed to say that. Why does the Shulchan Aruch begin with the laws of Hanukkah? It doesn't. The Shulchan Aruch, the code of Jewish law, begins with the law of waking up in the morning. Right? It also speaks about Hanukkah, but gets to Hanukkah much later. Right? It talks about getting up in the morning, making blessings, going to the bathroom, laws of prayer, the Shema, blessing over fruits, vegetables, other things. And then it gets to Shabbos. After it speaks about Shabbos, speak about Rosh Chodesh, the new month. After that, speak about Passover, the laws of the festival. Then it'll speak about all the holidays. Speak about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Hanukkah. What else? Hanukkah, Purim. 3 weeks to 9 days. So to speak, does not start with Hanukkah. So I'm not sure where that's. I'm not sure where that exactly. Not exactly sure where that comes from. But so that I'm not sure. The question is, why does Shulchan Aruch begin with the laws of Hanukkah? It doesn't. Right? It starts with the laws of waking up in the morning, going to the bathroom, and all that. What happens if a single female JIT makes a blessing on it? It's not the problem. What's the problem? What's the problem with let's say differently. What's different if a non-Jew, male or female, makes a blessing on an apple, on lighting Shabbos candles, anything else? Can they make a blessing? Can they make a blessing? They can make a blessing. Why not? What's the problem? How are they going to learn how to do it if they don't? So they can make a blessing, sure. Make a blessing on Hanukkah candles. Right? There's the question, can they make the blessing that God did miracles for my people? Because not their people. They haven't converted yet. After conversion, for sure they could. Can they make the blessing, Shalosani Goy, I'm not a non-Jew? Can't say that. Right? After conversion, you could say that. Right? The whole question if you could, but I think we hold that you could say that. So what about on a piece of food? Can a JIT, a Jew in training, make a blessing on food? Why not? Any blessing. Right? I shouldn't say any, most blessings. They should be able to make. It's not a problem. Not a problem, because if you don't make it, how are you going to know what to do? Someone who leaves idolatry, starts Jewish process, and decides to stop. They don't want to do anything, even know related stuff. Is that a bad thing? Well, what do you think? You don't need me to answer that. What's the answer? Come on, what's the answer? They decide to stop and do nothing. Okay, so they're not doing Noahide stuff, but they're not doing idolatry. Okay, right? But are they doing things that are liable for death penalty by the Noahide laws? If they're doing that, they're in trouble. Not everything you don't do according to the Noahide laws is death penalty. Like someone burns out and just wants to play video games and not study and grow anymore. Well, again, you know the answer. I don't need to answer that. Right? That's an obvious answer. You're in trouble. God doesn't want you to be a potato, a couch potato. That's not what he wants. Right? He wants a person to grow. He doesn't want a person to be brain dead. No mitzvah to be brain dead. I mean, even though most of America is, in other places as well. I'll throw America and everywhere else under the bus. Right? Most people are brain dead. So who says being brain dead is good, even if you're not doing transgressions? And what if God has higher expectations? He said, well, you burnt out for a couple of days, a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem because you're held to a higher standard, even if you're not doing, even if you're just not doing anything actively. You're just passive over here, just wasting time, right? So maybe by a non-Jew, there's no such thing as wasting time, not a problem, right? Are they allowed to be a couch potato? I don't see why not. Is it a good thing? Not a good thing by any stretch, right? But if you have higher potential and God knows that, you're in trouble. That mean every second I'd be into it and working on it. Okay. Not everyone can do everything at every time, but you have to work on it. Are there times people flake out? Yes. Is it a good thing? No. But if someone, tunes out and just say, well, I can't hack it anymore, I need a break for 6 months. They're not necessarily doing anything wrong, they're just wasting their life. So is there a punishment for wasting your life? If it's not anything against the Noahide laws, technically it shouldn't be anything wrong. Right? But the question is that good or not? That's certainly not going to be good. Right? As long as it's not, breaking any laws, maybe, maybe it's not a problem, or maybe it's a moral imperative. Maybe God's going to say you have higher expectations, don't waste your life. Say, but I'm burnt out and this happened, that, okay. We all have trials. Not saying not. But a person has greater potential, a person's in trouble. What is the Shulchan Aruch? It is the code of Jewish law. It's literally called the Set Table, written by Rabbi Yosef Karo in the 1700s, based on the work of the Rambam. Right? It covers everything. It covers the laws of all the holidays, prayer, getting up in the morning, Shabbos, festivals, covers laws of damages, marriage, divorce, vows, learning Torah. I mean, covers everything. That is what we base what we do on today, is based on that. Then you have later commentaries, comment on exactly what we're supposed to do and disagreements, whatever, but that is the standard for what we do. It's all derived from the Gemara. Right? All these laws are derived from the Gemara. That's what it is. And no eyes aren't obligated to do anything, but no eyes laws just decide to coach. Again, ask yourself the question. You don't have to ask me. You want to coach through life and be brain dead, okay? You want to coach through life and do nothing, okay? Don't think you're not going to be liable for that. You tell me, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, technically, okay? So if I were playing God, I'm like, what are you doing? You're wasting your life. But you say, I'm not doing anything wrong. God looks into the soul and he says, but you got greater potential. How's God going to judge it? Go ask him. Many people say, yeah, I prayed, God answered me. Okay. I love hearing that. It goes so much against Judaism in so many ways. I prayed, God answered. Okay. So go pray on it. You want to coach through life. That's all life is. The Ramchal says that's not the point of life. What's the point of life? Struggle. That's the point of life. Try and reach the minimal point where you're going to have a portion of the world to come. So a person wants to be like the rest of the world and be brain dead and just do nothing. Okay. Is there going to be liability? Depends what the source of their soul is and what they have the potential to do. If they don't have any potential, then there'll be less liability. Won't even be a moral imperative. God says, okay, you didn't really transgress anything. You didn't do anything either. You sat there and vegged because life was too hard. Okay. Not saying people don't have, difficult lives. Question is, how's God going to look at it? Is God going to give you a pass and say, well, okay, you got minimal level. You reached the first stage, in that video game. Okay, that's where you'll be. But you could have greater potential. You wasted it. But did you technically do anything wrong? Depends what you did. If you didn't do anything wrong, then, it's about unreached potential. And if God doesn't care, you just coast it through. Okay. But in either case, it's not going to make a person happy. A person's going to veg until I can't take it anymore. It's too hard. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Fine. It's their choice. It's their choice. Someone also says, accuse someone's wife of something. Yeah, there's the whole thing. The whole thing was in an inn with Rabbi Shua ben Prachia. If it was really him. And basically made a comment saying that Rabbi Shua ben Prachia looked at the innkeeper's wife or whatever, made a very lewd comment. He threw him out. Came back, asked for forgiveness, threw him out. Second time, he threw him out. Third time he came, the Gemara says, Rabbi Shua ben Prachia was in the middle saying the Shema. And he couldn't answer him, but he would have accepted his forgiveness. He said, oh, these are the rabbis, whatever, and he left and did what he did. So there's a claim against Rabbi Shua ben Prachia, he was too hard on him. They say you draw close with the left, push away with the right, or the other way around, whatever it is. There's a claim against it. Came out too hard. But he made a lewd comment. That's the point. Guy was a pig, made a lewd comment. Like one of the Torah giants, the generation. Oh, I saw you looking at her like that, wink, wink. Are you a pig? That's how you talk to one of the Torah giants? Throw him out. What do you don't think he deserved to be thrown out? Of course he deserved to be thrown out. He's a pig. Right? But it could be. He was too harsh. Could be. Hard to know. Hard to know, but that's one of the Gemaras that speaks about it. It says what he said. And the man, and he made a comment about one of the Torah giants of the generation. You don't think he deserves the right to be upset? Of course he deserves the right to be upset. Guy's a pig. Guy made a piggish comment. Pig. Made a piggish comment. He didn't deserve to be flattened and disciplined? Of course he did. I don't think there's any question. Or could be. He was too strong. Could be. Kiva students were guilty of baseless hatred. Yeah. Now, who says they were Sephardic Jews? I mean, there is bias against Sephardic Jews. I'm not saying it's right. Certainly in Israel, they've had a hard time here. That's true. Who says they were Sephardic students? He had 24,000 students. They all died because they didn't show respect one for another. That's kind of hard. You're talking about he's one of the greatest people ever created in the history of man. You think he taught them to have unlawful hatred? Right? Not to have respect one for another. Teachers get a bad rap in many ways. Why? Because you could have somebody, let's say you taught someone, you helped them in something they did you didn't like. So what happened? That uproots for some people everything they ever did. No, it doesn't mean people aren't human. Right? But that seems to unravel everything. That's not right. They might have done something wrong. Okay. Right. But then they go and they go ballistic because, they felt they were, they got the raw end of the deal or whatever the case is. And now they're going to blaspheme and say all these things, against the person that taught them. Right. I want to tell a fundamental principle here. fundamental principle, you can take it for what it's worth. Never spit in the hand that feeds you. Let's repeat that. Never spit in the hand that feeds you. One of my rabbis, that helped me a lot, and a psychologist by training as well. He told me many years ago, he says, remember one thing, if you get compliments and people appreciate you, okay. He said, but expect to be spit on. He said, expect to be spit on and dragged through the mud, even if it wasn't necessarily your fault, or even if it was, right? He said there are people, I would have loved to have been a fly in his wall like that with all these crazy cases, right? But he once told me, he said there were, people I dealt with, I helped them, I basically saved their lives, in many ways. He got spit on. I said things against him, rumors against him, different things. He said, that's the thanks I got. Okay, they paid him. I mean, sure they paid him, for his services, but he got spit on. He got spit on, maybe he said that a number of times. A number of times. He once told me, he said, listen, when you come out against me, only throw little stones. I said, God forbid, you saved my life. Everything is like, no, I know what I'm talking about. In other words, you can help someone and help someone and help someone. And at the end, what happens? Get slapped upside the head. Maybe something you said. Maybe it's something you did. We're not infallible. People make mistakes, okay? Right? But you never spit in the hand that feeds you. You take someone from soup to nuts, you help them, you save their life. Let's say someone who converts. They got through the process, you helped them, or they paid you, they didn't pay you, whatever. And then something happens, they say something, or you said something, or who knows what, then they trash you all over the place. Can happen. Definitely can happen. I'm not saying the person necessarily, is out of their mind and they have a mental disorder. I mean, it could be they do, right? But in general, even if that's not the case, I've seen it. People can turn very quickly, right? And a person as well can get punished for having a student that's not fitting to be their student. Then you get responsibility. You take responsibility because you taught them, you helped them, and look how they turned out. But what's the obvious question? Such a thing? So I didn't tell them to do this. I didn't tell them to go out and, and do that. And what if they didn't listen? And what if they didn't listen? You gave them advice, they didn't listen, and this happened. So you bear some of the responsibility. I'm not saying it's right per se, but people are gonna say, oh, look, see, you taught him. Look what happened. Look what happened over here. Not necessarily your fault. I had somebody, thank God it wasn't one of my students. Whatever, everything about conversion, blasted left and right, discriminated against and this. And I was like, every last thing I ever see this person post, thank God I haven't seen it in a while. It's all bad. Like everything in conversion is bad. It's discrimination and it's this and there's that and, all kinds of things. The person ends up converting, right? Person ends up converting. Very, very bitter about the process. Very bitter about a lot of things, but ends up converting. Okay. But the person has tremendous amount of anger. Now, God forbid it would have been my students. How does that make me look? Makes me look pretty bad. But you know what? I'm not, I can't control what people put out there on social media. I wish I could. I see what people put out, kind of nosy in certain ways. But I see some of it makes me want to vomit. So why are you putting this out? Why are you saying this? I have called people on it. I have, some of the answers I got, I believe it, it's true, and blah, blah, blah. And, okay. But I'm not putting my stamp of approval on it. People have to be careful. People have to show gratitude. I'm not saying you have to, kiss somebody's shoes. If someone helps you, don't spit on them. You don't backbite against them. It's the worst thing a person can do. Not to mention the fact that if they trash their name all over the place when it's totally forbidden, that's a whole different thing. And that's a whole different thing. That makes the person look worse. Then you got to clear your name and different things. So you say, well, aren't there better fields to go into? Yeah, I should have been a dog psychologist. That would have been probably a better field. They're not going to talk back. A lot more money. A lot more prestige. Yeah, but it can happen. It can happen. Again, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect, and no one should ever judge anyone unless they've been in their shoes. Right? But for goodness sakes, if someone tries to help, you don't want to take the advice, or you disagree. Oh, this rabbi said this, I'm not going to listen to you, and you're this, and you're that. He's okay. It comes with the territory. That's what social media is. And people can disagree. It's okay to disagree. You have to have respect, unless the person's a heretic. You flatten them like a pancake. You make sure people shouldn't listen to them. That should be done. 100%, that should be done. Right? Should be done every day? No. I see people do it. I see people throw things out there all the time. Okay? That's what they want to do. They feel an obligation. Very good. Right? See, non-Jews do it also. They just mimic it. So, okay, you want to do that? Good luck. I see someone, I watch videos, get a good laugh, or make me cry that, the person gets up there and, is going to say whatever he's going to say against somebody, whatever the case is, but he butchers every Hebrew word, every single Hebrew word. Like, please go learn Hebrew, then make a video if you're going to do that, and you're going to waste your time. Do me a favor. But I just think it's ironic. You want to go blast them, go blast people. Okay, you don't have anything better to do? Why don't you sit and learn? That's what you should be doing, staying off social media. Right? I've spoken about social media a lot. Yeah. So how do you explain? So that's how we get on to this. How do you explain the students of Rabbi Akiva? Isn't that a mark against Rabbi Akiva? He started over, right? And through Rabbi Akiva's last, final 5 students are the ones that brought oral law. They passed it down. They totally passed it down. So I don't see where you're getting that Rabbi Akiva is against Sephardim. I definitely don't see it. But yeah, I hear the question. I definitely hear the question. What happened to 24,000 students? A person can give over ethics, can teach, can do everything in their power to make people better. But if the person doesn't want to be better and they're going to be corrupt, that's not the teacher's fault. I mean, maybe they get blamed for a certain extent, but that's not their fault. The person's a bad egg. You shouldn't have taught him. Oh, that's a severe punishment. How do you know? How do you know if a person's a bad egg or not? And they're not fitting to be taught? Because there are some people out there just want to manipulate information. They'll suck you dry, and then who knows what they'll do with it. There's responsibility. There definitely is responsibility. I would agree. I would agree. Yeah, let me see other questions here. Can Jews keep swords at home for home defense? Yes. Home defense? Can a person pack a piece? Yeah, self-defense. They need to. Certain places, I'm sure, it's probably good idea. Definitely good idea, but 100%. Was Cain's sin was procrastination? I was playing like this. I'll say like this. Cain himself understood he had to bring a sacrifice. Abel brought the best of his flock. What did he bring? What did he bring? Flax. So it's like he put on the altar, he put on dandelions. Now he understood he had to give a sacrifice. Very good. But he gave a grade F sacrifice. So was it because of laziness? Was it because of laziness? He gave a sacrifice. What was the sacrifice worth? It was a bunch of dandelions. Right? So, if it's, he didn't want to put in the hard work. I don't know if it's about hard work, per se. He, maybe he understands that he really should give the best, but it's hard to imagine, though. It's hard to imagine. But that's why he's punished. He's punished because God frowned upon what he did. It's like, I'm the King of Kings. You understand that. Why'd you bring me this? He had his reasons for bringing what he did. It wasn't necessarily laziness. He had reasons. He's in charge of the earth, so to speak. So he'll bring something from the earth. He had to bring the best thing. He had to bring the best potted plants. So maybe he didn't get that. He brought something from the earth, so that'd be good enough. Very, very hard to understand. You're talking about the King of Kings. He understood that what? So you bring, a scrawny little dandelion. Says, God, I understand you need this. You want this? Okay, so I'll bring it. Hard to understand. I don't think it's about work. I think it's about mentality. About what he should have done. And that's what I think it is. It's a no, can I raise bugs and worms for chicken feed? Yeah, not a problem. I grow and eat hybrid fruits? No. Sorry, let's say better. You can eat them. You cannot grow them. Non-Jews and Jews are not allowed to take a peach and a plum, make it into a nectarine. Right? You can't hybrid plants or animals. Now, if you do, even if a Jew does it, you get benefit from it. Eating them, you could, but you're not allowed. If someone else did it, you could eat it. You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to do it. Can you charge sex after conversion? Can you change? Yeah, why not? In other words, if someone is, Sephardic, can they be Ashkenazic or can they be Hasidic? Yeah. I would say, though, if you're going to be one thing, stick to one thing. If you want to change, but don't go back and forth. Don't go back and forth. If you're going to be one way, be one way. If you're going to be another way, be another way. That's it. Right? Don't keep going back and forth. That's definitely not good. Other questions here. Someone converted Christianity during the Holocaust. We call anusim. Right? Let's say they were anusim. Right? People don't like the word Marano, it means pigs. But let's say they converted to survive, let's say. Or Holocaust survivor turns completely away from Hashem. Are they considered cut off? So I can't judge that. God's going to have to judge that. But someone who's in that amount of pain and seen so many things, we can't judge that. However, God's going to look at it. I remember one great rabbi, someone came to him for a blessing. He says, no, go to this person who was a survivor. He's got a number tattooed. Go to them for a blessing, because anyone who kept their beliefs intact after seeing all the horrors that they saw, they're the ones to get the blessings from. We can't judge them. I remember I spoke once about reincarnation. I was interviewing for a job to be a rabbi somewhere in the States. This is a Jewish community center, and at the end, this woman comes up to me. She's like, "Rabbi, you're very, very clever, very, very clever." So I started going, telling me the stories, some stories about, just a child during the Holocaust and all the atrocities, that she saw. Someone else came over and, was like trying to answer up, like why the Holocaust happened. I just like pushed him aside. I'm like, you just let her talk. We can't judge. We cannot judge. God will judge it. He'll judge it however he judges it. We can't judge it. You can say there's assimilation, this happened, that happened, and whatever. But if they survived, how could they not have faith? The fact that they did survive is a big miracle, no question. But they saw their whole family killed in front of them. How can a person judge that? How can a person say, oh, that because of this, that, and the other thing, and you're going to fry in hell forever if you did it? That's a problem. Can't judge that. It's impossible to judge that. Why should it affect future generations? Who says it does? Right? In other words, that part of Europe totally wiped out. They were totally wiped out for any number of reasons, potential reasons. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Why should it affect the future generations who turn to Hashem? Look what happened. Look what happened. There were 1.5 million children killed during the Holocaust. All the great rabbis were killed. I mean, I shouldn't say all. There were many that escaped, but many of them were killed. So Hitler, Yamach Shemoy B'Zichro, no dummy. He understood if you don't have any teachers, you don't have any kids to teach, you don't have Judaism in the next generation. That's how it's going to affect. 100% that's how it's going to affect. Right? But, future generations, look what happened in America. There was nothing there. There was barely any Judaism there when they got there. That's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. It took years, many, many years to build it up. Many years to what it is today. That's it's a huge thing. So someone here says, even David's lineage, some sins completely against Hashem, but then comes and keeps the laws of Hashem and restore. Okay, some are going to get lost. totally lost, right? Others may come back. Okay, so it's not going to be the majority. A lot of them are going to get lost. You don't want that, but that's what happens. Essentially, that's what happens. How come there wasn't much written about Lashon Hara before the Chofetz Chaim? I don't know. Don't know. The Chofetz Chaim, by the way, Ramosha Snyder asked him when he put it out, why didn't you write someone who habitually speaks Lashon Hara doesn't have a portion of the world to come? So he asked the Chofetz Chaim, isn't that true? He said, yeah. So why didn't you put it in the book? Because if I would have put it in the book, everyone would say, well, I speak Lashon Hara, I won't have a portion of the world to come, I won't keep any mitzvahs. Too hard. It was too hard. Why wasn't something written before? I don't know. Well, it's a good question. Very good question. Problem that happens everywhere in society. You're right. It's bad. It's definitely bad. Can a woman carry a gun? That's a whole question. A gun may be considered a male garment today, right? It's like a sword. It's why Yael did not kill Sisera with a sword. She could have cut off his head with a sword. She didn't. Or killed him with a sword. She didn't. Why? The commentaries say because sword is a male garment. So she used a 10-peg or whatever. Killed him. Right? So the question is that, they have these guns made for women. Right? So there's a whole discussion. I've spoken about it before. It's a whole discussion. I think it's one of my Q&As I brought it up. Or I might have spoken about it in Tanakh Talk also about women doing, wearing men's clothing and vice versa, or in my Q&As. I'll have to find it. But yeah, there's a whole discussion whether she could or not. Self-defense, I think we hold in most cases probably all right. It's probably all right. It could be like just regular guns, not necessarily machine guns or whatever, but I'd say like probably regular guns or a knife or whatever, probably fine. Right? It's probably fine. What's the latest time you can say Shmona Esrei? Probably about to get credit for doing it, probably about to 11:30, depends where you are. Right? Depends where you are. You can say it afterwards. You can say it pretty much, all morning until you have the time to say the afternoon prayer. Then you have to say the afternoon prayer first. Right? But pretty much all morning to say it. It's just at a certain point when you say it, you won't get credit as if you would have said it at the right time. How do cochlear implants work for Shabbos? Don't know. Electronic devices used for hearing aids. I think the way they work is if you turn them to a certain, what do you call it? To a certain frequency, right? You don't turn it higher or lower. Then once you leave it that frequency, you leave it at that. I think that's how it's permissible. Can't turn it up and down, from what I understand. Right? If you leave it in place, you don't turn it up and down, it should be all right. Should be all right. Someone asks, you have a machzor for Pesach, right? A prayer book that has all the prayers for Passover. Is it enough? You don't need a Haggadah. No, you need a Haggadah also. A prayer book's not enough. You definitely you should get a Haggadah as well. Again, the gun for protection should be all right. I think a gun is okay. But the question, maybe other things may be forbidden. It's not so simple. There's a whole discussion. There's a whole discussion. If I remember correctly, a gun should be all right. Right? A knife should probably be all right. But the question is, why should it be okay? Certainly if a gun is considered a male garment today. Right? And men usually fight, not women. But again, can a woman use it to protect herself? She could. Right? She could. I'm oversimplifying. I don't want people to say, oh, no, this one says like this one says like that. Yeah, I'm not going according to all the sources or any of them. I'm just saying off the top of my head what I remember. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, someone points out they understand more why you should make yourself a rabbi, not many. Yeah. Yeah. Got to be careful also. Definitely have to be careful. You know who you listen to. I get questions a lot. People hear certain things and yeah, it's problematic. Problematic what they hear, problematic sometimes what people say, but you have to see things in context. But yeah, a person, is not going to navigate this process or any spiritual process if they don't have a guide, if they don't have a mentor. But, just remember one thing, people are not perfect. People make mistakes, people have pressure, different things, whatever it is, just, people should keep that in mind. Yeah, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 9:00 Eastern time. This week it's going to be 4:00 Israel time. Next week, after Thursday, we change the clocks, everything back to normal, at least for me. Anyone did change the clocks? Anyone has any questions? Find me on Facebook, Michael Chaim Kaufman, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on Facebook, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism on YouTube. I got videos on Torah portion of the week, Q&As, ethics for our fathers, etc. Anyone want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wish everyone a good day.